Oh, shit. It's going to be a good episode. Chucky's got his drink on. I got a great guest who is fucking funny. I've read his stuff and been able to chat with him. Just such a good fucking dude. We're going to have so much fun. So super excited to have you guys along. You know what? While we're here, let's make this so that we can actually see what the fuck you guys are saying. Because for some reason, people see that as a big deal. I don't know. It's like, oh, can you talk with me and shit? Yeah, whatever. So let's do that so we can chat and have a good old time. Edit audience. Oh, no, I don't need to edit the fucking post. You guys can watch me do this, and I look like an idiot. Ooh, Valerie Pierce is there. What's going on, girl? All right, it's public. So if you guys want to share, like, comment, do whatever you like, please, by all means. We're going to have Josh Nealis here. We're going to talk about what he does, probably comedy and comics, because that's something that we don't get to talk about a lot. And it's someone who, writes comedy and comics and has a good time with that and enjoys that. I think it's a big deal. What up? How you doing? Are you going to MegaCon this weekend? I won't be there, but I hear it's going to be off the chain. So anybody who is going to a con there, shout it out. Have some fun. If you guys have any Kickstarters or any stuff to show off, show it off in the chat. Fuck, why not, right? Let's have a good old time. I'm not worried about that at all. We're going to have fun. Yeah, share it around if you can. Yeah, geez. What do we got? We got a couple people here. Yeah, man, we're gonna have a really good show. Very excited. You're stuck with me for an hour. You're not, right? Like at any point you could just be like, fuck this fat ass, I'm out of here. But I like to tell you you're stuck with me. That way you just kind of go, all right, and hang out. Because life would be so much easier that way. But you know what? Why don't we just go live and see what happens? So I am going to make that be a thing right about now.
Canadian bacon is actually really good, and it's nothing like normal bacon, and it's better than ham, which you guys seem to call Canadian bacon. I'm very good at writing. I write very well. Yeah, it's Shop Talk.
Do some of your audience members like the word fuck? Cool, then I'm going to keep saying fuck. Because I care.
And I do. What's going on, Josh?
What up? Am I on camera right now?
You are on camera.
Okay.
Whether you want to be or not.
Yeah, I'm sharing it, so this probably looks like I'm a weirdo.
Yes, Sam, you are live. You're with us. Valerie's with us. I'm sure there's a bunch of other people. I can see the numbers, so there's definitely more than the two of you. Guys, yell out, say hi. If you guys have any questions, you want to talk about anything, let's fucking do it. Josh Nealis is in the house. What's going on? Oh, yeah. I'm sure you haven't seen this guy in very long.
Oh, this guy again.
Can't get enough of that motherfucker.
Yeah.
What's up, Josh?
Man, that dude and I had a really cool conversation last night. He's very insightful, and I really enjoyed the conversation. Check out his podcast, Just Joshing. It was good. He's a good dude.
What does he have now? Like 7,000 episodes or something?
What was it, like 620? I think he said last night.
Yeah, it's a stupid number. Like, great dude. Yeah, I've been on the show a couple times. Josh is just, he's fucking great, and he has taught me a lot. Just like, when I decided to do this, I was like, yeah, I'm just gonna have a good time and see what happens. But he was really good about, hey man, if you're gonna do it, you certainly can take it serious and still have some fun. And so he was there to offer advice and all that kind of shit. So yeah, it's been good. But you know what? We're not here to talk about that, Josh. So let's segue to the real Josh we're here for. Nealis, what's going on, man? Why don't you... Yeah, how you doing, first off? Let's do that.
Oh, I'm freaking tired, man. Like I told you, I'm always tired anymore. Between writing books and working, and my kids got baseball, I work out every day. And then doing these podcasts and stuff, I'm exhausted. Oh, I moved recently. I've been fixing up this house, so it's been nonstop every day for quite some time. So
plus you're running a Kickstarter, which even if technically like you're not doing anything with it, your fucking brain is in there going,
Oh,
Do I
yeah.
have more? Did somebody drop? Where are we at? What's going on next? What do I get? Oh, fuck. It's a full-time job, man.
What should I say tomorrow? How can I promote it tomorrow? That's different from today.
Yep.
So I'm not a fucking parrot just repeating shit. So
And that, you know what, man? That is the for me, that's the Kickstarter killer. Is when I just see someone keep dropping the link, and saying the same shit every day, and I'm like, dude, I was on the line before, and now I'm just not interested.
Every group I've shared in, which I've done it twice now, where I've shared it, spammed it basically. I try to write something different in each thing. So, because somebody like you, we're probably in several groups together. You'll see I shared it, but it'll at least say something different. I might make you laugh on one of them,
Yeah, right. Well, that's why copy and paste is kind of a killer for you.
Mm-hmm.
Because it creates that same message, and most of us are in the same groups, in multiple groups. So, what are you doing? We're just going to see the same thing over and over. And sometimes, I don't know about you, but I'll be going through my Facebook feed, and I might see, like turkey sharks 1, 2, 3, 4, like in 5 different groups, and then to see the same blurb every time, it's like, yeah, okay, we get it. Like, you don't have the time to have fun with this and do something with it. So yeah, I appreciate that take. Why don't you? I do this every time. Why don't you take us through your origins as both a comic fan and then as a comic creator?
Okay, so it all started when I was like 15 years old, and I was on this class field trip, and I was taking pictures of this really hot girl, and this like little spider bit me, and then like the next day,
that's exactly how that had to go.
No, I mean, my origin unfortunately isn't that crazy. Pretty much I grew up watching X-Men and Spider-Man and reading the comics just like pretty much everybody that's around 40 years old did. And, when I started getting pubes around my junk and all that, I liked girls. So I stopped messing with all that. And then I started chasing girls, and then I got old enough to drink beer, and I did that. And then now that I have a kid and I don't do the other stuff as much, well, I still chase girls, I guess, sometimes, but now that I don't drink heavily all the time, I write comics and books in my spare time and run this publishing company. So
there you go. And you have a bunch of fucking books.
Yeah. So I started in 2015, right before my son was born, like a month before I started writing my first book. Since then, I've written Turkey Sharks will be number 10 comic book. I've published a comic for somebody else, and I've written 8 full-length books.
Dude.
So, yeah, very busy. My brain.
Yeah, man. And that's funny. You and I actually started right around the same time. I started 2015 as well.
Yeah. It's been a fun ride, that's for damn sure.
Right?
Yeah.
It's always neat to see like who's in the same class as you, because you don't necessarily know immediately when people started and all that kind of stuff. Suddenly like you'll be watching someone's comic, and this was a thing where I was like, oh, that comic, it looks okay, and this person seems like semi-talented, and then they're like, oh yeah, I've worked for like this animation company for 50 years, and or for however long, and I did the Smurfs, and you're like, oh fuck, oh, okay, how are we in the same groups? How are we doing the same thing?
Yep. Chris Madd, who we spoke about briefly, I think he told me he started around the same time. I mean, I think he said he did it in high school and all that kind of shit, but he really got back into it about 2015, I think. I'm pretty sure that's what he said. So, I mean,
we're all in the same class.
Yeah, I heard that. I was like, damn, bro, like you got good quick.
Yeah, he did. And and you and I both share the fact that we both have covers by him.
We do.
Which we love, yeah. So
little menage a trois there going on.
Right, all right. The black and gray. So you add a lot of comedy in your comics, I've found.
Yeah, in the comics, Ginger Avenger is not so much comedy, although some of the other characters do pop in to give it that. Ginger Avenger, oddly, it's a ridiculous name, but it's the one that's like kind of super serious, like something you might see from Marvel or DC.
Yeah.
So it's kind of weird like that.
I know I read one of yours.
Uh,
I
you read
laughed.
you read Stingray 1, I believe.
That's it. I think it didn't. I read Stingray 1 and 2.
I don't. I mean, you may have read 2. I don't remember what I sent you.
Okay.
I know for sure you read 1 because you did a review on it.
Yeah, and dude, I laughed. I was
Yeah.
had such a good time with that one. I felt like you really got it. Like that was something that excited me. Like when I did that show, I was revealing a fuck ton of books, and it was just like kind of books. And this isn't necessarily to be rude or anything, but like I get thrown books at me by people that I don't know. Like I don't necessarily know you, and so it's not going to be my first reaction to to go to that book, especially when it's digital. And so after a while, I was like, look, I just need to review a bunch and get a bunch off my plate. So I did that, and dude, I found so many good ones, and yours was one of those ones where I laughed and I had such a fun time. And what I noticed is you understood something that a lot of other people don't, and that is, you know, when they do the jokes, they try to kind of make the jokes the forefront of the action, so to speak. And whereas for you, certainly that was part of it, but you also had like just the action is the main character, but there's like two guards off to the side just talking stupid shit and saying dumb stuff, and it's like that background
Yep.
being funny can often still allow a scene to be funny and serious all at once. And that was something that I saw that, oh, okay, this guy gets it.
Yeah. Well, and oddly enough, that was my first comic that I'd ever done as an adult. I did a Stingray comic in 6th grade as a contest that I didn't win. I think I got like a C on it. So I guess I showed them now because nobody else from my class has any fucking comics fucking published. And then I actually found recently my mom is moving too, and she was like, here, take all your shit from your childhood. And I found another comic that was called the Hillbilly Olympics, and I read it. It was actually kind of funny, and I was like, maybe I should like do this. Yeah, so Stingray, that's been a long time coming. And I don't know. Oddly enough, that book, it's still got the snarkiness and the sarcasm between Ray and Snapdragon, the main villain, but it's actually become a little dark a little bit, that one. Yeah.
What is it like? Do you feel like there's a dark period or that kind of brought you there, or I don't know, 2020, or do you feel like the story just kind of naturally went there? What do you think kind of did that?
Sort of all that, because the character, in comics, it takes a minute to develop your character. I mean, it's very hard to do it in one issue. You need like 3 or 4 issues before you can really tap into that. And, there's that. And I also figured out who I wanted the character to be over the course of that story arc. And, Ray is, he's a tragic character kind of in that his wife died, his child died, he was kidnapped by aliens, forced into slavery, rescued. And then there's been some other tragedy. There's one scene in particular in, I think it's Stingray 2, where he goes back to his old house where he was abducted from, and he's standing out in the yard and he's looking in the window, and there's a new family with their baby, and the dad's like tossing the baby in the air, and he's watching what should have been his life. You know what I mean? So that was a great scene. And Cristiano Reina, my artist for all my books except a handful of covers, I mean, he's knocked it out of the park for me 10 books in a row. I mean, that dude, he's a good dude, and he and I have really we've got a good thing going, I think.
That's badass, dude. That's something interesting that you would use the same artist for all of your books. Is it just that they, you guys get along so well, or that they're able to adapt to different styles of storytelling and whatnot? What is it about them that made you want to use them on all your different titles?
Yeah, I mean, we've just his price is right, which is a big thing, and I'm comfortable with him. There's a little bit of a language barrier because he lives in Italy, And there's been a handful of times where I'm just like, no, I'm trying to tell you what I mean, and you would get it if I was speaking to you. You'd be like, oh yeah, I know that reference. But we usually figure it out. I'll have to send him a GIF or whatever of whatever scene from whatever movie where I'm like this, and he's tossing it or whatever. But he's quick, he's affordable, and he's talented as shit, man. I mean, he's really good. And I have even noticed as I've gotten better with the writing and all that, even his art has gotten better through all this.
Yeah.
So.
See, and I've had to do that with artists before. I remember one where actually I was editing, and the writer was like, "Yeah, can we have the character do jazz hands?" And the artist was like, "I have no fucking idea what that was." And so I just sent a video of me going,
I've done that before too. Yep.
Oh, jazz hands. Okay, yeah, I can do that.
Yeah, I think we were cutting somebody's arm off or something in one book. I don't think I do know. I'm not going to say what it is. But he wasn't quite understanding the way the blade came through the arm. He had it a different way. And I was like, no, like this. And I ended up getting like a carrot or something and doing it. Something like what I did. It's like that. So,
I love that. That's great, man. And
yeah.
see, that's the kind of things that we have to do to sort of, show off our vision and make sure that, I mean, I'm sure, I don't know necessarily how you work, but there's some things where we can kind of go, oh, okay, cool. Your vision of this is better than mine. So go ahead. And then there's sometimes, and then there's sometimes where it's like, no, I have a very specific thing that I want to see here. I'm very excited about that. And so you have to pull out the carrots,
I think I've used action figures before and put them in little poses. And I almost bought one of those little wooden dolly jobber things that artists use.
Oh, yeah.
You can use it as a decoration too, because they're kind of cool looking anyway. But
Right.
yeah. I've got plenty of action figures laying around where I can just make them do what I want. So.
No, that's cool. Yeah, that's actually smart. I hadn't considered. I liked like you. I saw those and I was like, oh, that'd be a neat thing just to show off. But I don't think I'd use it. But yeah, I could totally use it like that.
Yeah. You take a picture and be like, I want this guy standing like this or like that.
So, what is your comedy pedigree? What is it? Because I've read your stuff. It is like dead on. It's funny.
Yeah.
And if it wasn't, I wouldn't fucking bring it up. I'd just be like, oh, you're a good writer. I like your stories. You know what I mean? And then we'd move on and talk. But I'm focusing on comedy so much because you seem to get it.
I think I get comedy. A lot of people, if anybody's friends with me on Facebook, when I'm not promoting Kickstarters heavily, I write jokes fucking every day about just the stupidest thing I can think of.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, my pedigree, I guess, is everything but dry humor. I was actually just thinking about this today because I think Wes Anderson is getting ready to make a new movie, and what Tom Hanks is going to be in it, and some girl got cast today, and I was like, damn, that's a good cast. And I appreciate his movies; they're great. I'm not even gonna say they're not, because they are. The acting, the directing, the writing, they're wonderful movies. It's just not for me. I'm not into dry humor. I get it. I understand the jokes, but it's just for me. So slapstick, dark gallows humor, ridiculous, just stupid. That's kind of where I sit. I also like satire and shit like South Park is great because they'll be saying something, and then at the end of that episode, you're like, I see what they were doing. So like that, a lot of my stories are like that.
Well, and we were talking about covers earlier. Mm-hmm. And that's something that I feel like so many people, when you're doing a regular book, you like these badass covers, or how often do you just see the most beautiful poses or busts or whatever. But in comedy, that shit doesn't work so well. Like, yeah, you could still do sexy, but even your sexy kind of has to be funny. Like that Chris Mad picture, it is sexy, but it's also funny.
Oh, it's hilarious because
well,
first off, the girl is Basic Bitch. That's one of my new characters. She wears UGG boots and yoga pants, and like how the Green Goblin throws pumpkin bombs, she throws pumpkin spice lattes at people. and she's got the Karen haircut and all that, and her shirt says "Yes" on it. And then the other robot is Zebo, the drunk homeless robot, who's also a new character. So it's both their first appearances, and they're on the cover, like we mentioned pre-show. So they're both, I mean, just really stupid characters, but there's so much potential for not only comedy, but you could do some drama with the drunk homeless robot and all that. So
Yeah. Well, and also another thing, we had kind of talked about satire and whatnot. Homage covers are great for comedy and whatnot. Are great. Now you have some really good homage covers. You were saying, right?
Yeah. So the main comedy series of comics I do is Pedo Man and Kid Friendly, and boy, do I get some looks from people.
We got to talk about that one in a minute.
But every cover of that one has been a movie poster. So the first one was Risky Business, which I thought was absolutely perfect because it's Pedo Man with his glasses and he's doing the little wink like Tom Cruise. I mean, that was perfect. The second one, which is probably, I can almost guarantee you, more people stop and look at my table because of this cover. So if you're listening to me, covers are fucking key. I know people get tired of variants, and I get that too when Marvel does 30 for like one book. But, as an indie creator, you better knock your covers out of the park. But we have a spoof of Batman Mask of the Phantasm where it's Pedo Man on the cover and he's got his cape. And on the cape, there's a little tag and it says Made in China. And I'm telling you what, people walk by my booth at cons and dead stop and look at that because they see Batman or what they think is Batman, and it turns out to be Pedo Man. So then they see Batman, then they go, oh, fuck, that's not Batman. And then they laugh or they go, oh, I hope you die. So it's kind of a mixed bag.
So let's go to that I hope you die thing for a second, because I've seen you multiple times have to stand up for and explain Pedo Man. Can you do that one last time on the show and just kind of explain? Because I know a lot of people, as soon as they hear the name, they already know what it's about. And you're like, nah, motherfucker. So from the horse's mouth, explain Pedo Man.
Well, you haven't read it, so you don't know what it's about. It's extreme satire. And really, the book, I make it a point to go out of my way to poke fun at like pedophile shit. So I make and rapists and all that. So I mean, I've made fun of Bill Cosby. I make fun of R. Kelly a lot. The Penn State thing. I make fun of the Catholic Church. I think in Pedo Man 3, Pedo Man, Kid Friendly, and Blasphemer, who's my gay Amish superhero. Right. They walk into this club, and the club's called Weinstein's, and it's a club for villains. And they walk in, and there's a table of Catholic priests. There's a table of Boy Scout troop leaders, and they got their own reserved little tables. I think there's one for flat earthers, I think, is at one table. I can't remember. And then me and actually Cristiano are sitting at the bar. So we make a cameo in that book. So, it's every time I sit down to write one of those, it's just the dumbest thing. And yeah, about once a year I get a message from somebody and it's like, calm down, pump your brakes. But instead of defending it, I usually try to sell it to them. I turn around. So it hasn't worked yet, but it will. One of these days I'll get some.
One of these days you're going to sell someone a Pedo Man.
Yep.
See, yeah, like, I mean, so much of that stuff is just so fucked up. So, yeah, I feel like someone at some point has to discuss it and bring it out. I remember hearing an interview about two comedians. One comedian had been talking with another, and they were talking about Bill Cosby because, of course, so many of them grew up. I mean, hell, I was a huge Bill Cosby fan as a kid. Absolutely. As a kid. Let's get that straight.
I always thought he was shady. I don't know. There was always something about him.
Really?
Yeah.
He was the dad I wanted. Like, I loved my dad and everything, but, like, I mean, they were well off. He was a lot of fun, even when he was angry, it was still fun. So yeah, man, I thought it was great. But the two comedians are talking, and the one guy says, the worst thing about this whole case is the hypocrisy of it all. And the other guy goes, yeah, I disagree. And he goes, really, you disagree? He goes, yeah, I think the worst part's the rape. And I fucking laughed. So
I knew who that was, but I think I did see that.
yeah, it was on what is it? Seinfeld's Comedians in Cars Getting Coffee.
Okay, I watched a little bit of that, so I must have
Yeah.
watched that one. I think I
Yeah,
know.
oh shit, that was just that line got me so good. Like holy shit, yeah, dead on. It's
I
the
used
rape.
to. I lost my license back in the day for too many speeding tickets. So one of my buddies had to drive me to work all the time, and he hated doing it, but I made him do it anyway because we were friends, and that's what friends are for.
Yeah.
But I would kick in his door in the morning, and I would be doing my impression of Bill Cosby or of Eddie Murphy doing Bill Cosby. I'd be like, "You got to get up and take me to work because I don't want to pay my tickets." And it was, it would get him up. He would laugh every time, and he would get up. Bow.
Well, and I didn't know that Bill Cosby and Eddie Murphy actually had a feud too, which I found was kind of neat.
Yeah, I would take Eddie Murphy over Bill Cosby any day. Period.
100%, absolutely.
Even before the rape.
Even before the rape. Yes, I agree with that. The rape made it an easier fight, but yeah.
Yeah, I put the coin down. It was never a coin flip, but I took it all the way out of my hand.
So you and I, we grew up in this because I'm sure you grew up like kind of in the 80s and whatnot, and there was the sitcoms and stuff were amazing. Did you have any sitcoms that because you talked about films, but what about TV? Like any that kind of excited you and inspired your sense of humor and your writing and whatnot?
Oh, that's a good question. I mean, I've always liked Family Matters. I liked it as a kid, and I've revisited it as an adult. And it's I think Jaleel White does not get the credit he deserves for playing that character. I mean, because A, he did it for a long time, and B, it's still funny. That character is still funny.
You know, I agree with that. And the funny thing is that like, because of course, at the end of the day, he was a catchphrase, and that's what made it frustrating and annoying to a lot of people. But when he would then jump to Stefan,
right,
you then got to see like, oh, this motherfucker has range.
Yeah,
you know, and that was something that I think a lot of people didn't give him credit for.
He did Myrtle. They did several incarnations of him doing different characters.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, he was good. He, you know, even just as Urkel, especially when you hear him now talk and give interviews and stuff, and it's like, dude, you're like not that guy, like even remotely. It's like it's a complete 180 from who he is as a person. So I think he deserves a lot of credit for that role. Dinosaurs, man, that was a good one. I mean, that was good. Yeah, I mean, I liked Full House as a kid. I don't care for it now. I think it's kind of corny now. Wow, what was the Step by Step was good. That was a good one.
Wow.
There was a handful of them. Alf was sweet back in the day.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, you know, all that stuff I'm sure influenced me, but I'm a huge movie buff. I watch movies all the time, so probably movies more influenced me than anything. One of my buddies read Stuffed Squirrels and Porcelain Angels when it first came out, and he's like, dude, I see this as a movie. And I was like, oh, I didn't really try to write it that way, but you know, that makes sense because, you know, I try to read when I can, but I definitely watch way more fucking movies than I do read. So it would make sense that I write in movie form. There's a little gnat flying around here. So
so I was watching a thing on Netflix, The Movies That Made Us.
Yep.
And so I was going through that, and I just watched the one on Pretty Woman, which not necessarily a lover of that movie, but you know, whatever. I'll play my games and have that on in the background or whatever, or you know. And it was really interesting, especially as someone who writes comedy and whatnot. Gary Marshall, they were talking about Gary Marshall, the director, and they had edited that movie together, and they were playing it for him, and they said when they were playing the movie, he was sitting in his chair with his eyes closed, and they were like, he's fucking asleep. Like we're trying to show off the final edits of this movie to him to see if he's happy with it, and he's asleep. And so when it was all done, who the editor or whoever ran over, and they were like, "You slept through the whole movie. Like, what was the point of even doing this? This was 2 hours wasted time." And he was like, "I wasn't asleep at all." And they said, "Really? What were you doing?" And he said, "I had my eyes closed, and I was counting the beats between each joke." And I was like, "Oh shit!" And that brings about the pacing, because pacing and timing is so huge in comedy.
Mhm.
Are there any special things that you do as far as pacing is concerned to kind of make sure that those, especially like when you're talking about multi-panel jokes, is there anything specific that you're trying to do, or that you're thinking of when you're writing these and sort of formulating the visuals in your head?
Oh, I never really thought that deep about it, really, because a lot of times, Stuffed Squirrels, the full length book was literally just a bunch of jokes that I made into a story. And it's a good story. I think it's really funny, but it's got its meanings and stuff in there. As far as comics go, like Stingray and what's up, Papa? Stingray and Snapdragon have their typical, rival banter back and forth. Pedo Man, pretty much every word out of his mouth is some type of joke. I mean, pretty much he speaks in movie quotes almost totally. He does kind of like the Tick says spoon before he goes in battle. He always says something ridiculous. I think in Turkey Sharks he says, "Let's myrtleize them" from Three Ninjas. But there's all that kind of stuff. He quotes DMX in this one as well.
Shit.
Because and I love DMX, and I was sad to see that he died. So I'm writing the DMX lyric in here, and Pedo Man's going to say it. So while he's doing his armpit attack.
That's great. Good stuff, man. Is there anything that, because is there anything that you haven't been able to work on? Any kind of, like, say, genre or specific style of story that you're starting to get the itch for?
I probably should do more horror, because I have fans and friends that's their main genre that they enjoy. So I believe that if I could write a little more horror, I could probably sell it pretty good. I've written a little. I did 2 books of short stories and poems. You'd Be Surprised, and then You'd Be Surprised with a Vengeance is the second one. And yeah, those books are all over the place. Like, some of the stories are very heartfelt, cutesy wootsy. Like, there's one about 2 kids growing up and they never quite get together, and then maybe they do, maybe they don't, kind of thing, love story. There's one about, and I've been told this story was a copy of a movie. I forget what it was called, but I've never seen the movie. But a dad goes off to war and dies, and he made a video that the grandfather of his son gives him on every milestone of his life. So at like 10, 16, 18, marriage, shows him a video every 10 years or whatever, 5, 6, 7 years. That's a good story. I really like that one. I forget what it's called. I think it's in, I don't even remember which book. I think it's in You'd Be Surprised, the first one. And then I've done some horror. I did one zombie comedy. I think that would be the one. I want to do a zombie comedy at some point. More. I did one called Zombie-in-Law, where this guy's mother-in-law that lives with them becomes a zombie, and the wife won't let him kill her again. And but she just sits around and eats all of his leftover spaghetti. Like that story.
That sounds fun. Well, I keep telling people, I feel like horror more and more is blowing up in the indie verse, and actually we see it not even just as full-on horror books being written, but I find that there's elements of horror that are brought in.
Yeah, Lock and Key has elements of horror. I thought it was a horror when I first started watching the show, and then I was like, "Oh, this is something." That show's really great. If you haven't seen that, anybody watching, you need to go check that out. That's a good one. Yeah,
Thomas, horror. What's going on? The van is not dead yet. Sorry, you were saying horror.
Yeah, it is a fun. Oh, you know, I did a serial killer story too. I forgot about that one where he stalks his prey, because I always wondered what, you know, you see it in Dexter a little bit, but I wanted to really get into the uh, stalking of the prey kind of thing, and leading up to that. Then there's another one that's it's called The Carriage, where a family back in like the Sleepy Hollow times move into a haunted house basically. And that one was a reoccurring nightmare that I had for years. And I was like, fuck, I'm gonna make that a story because it scares the shit out of me. I wake up like screaming and shit. So I wrote that story, and then since I wrote it, I've had it one time and haven't had it since, and that was like 5 years ago. That's pretty cool.
Dude, that is cool. I feel like Robot Chicken really dropped the ball by not doing a Dexter and Dexter's Laboratory spoof. That could have been fucking great.
I've seen a shirt where they do that, I think.
Really? Oh, shit. I thought I was so fucking smart.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure I've seen a shirt where Dexter's Laboratory is Dexter. Almost.
Oh, that sounds fun, man. So, you've got this swath of books, and now you've hit Kickstarter for your first time.
First time, yeah.
So you're trying new things. How's that so far?
It's been pretty cool so far. You know, I've watched yours, and I've watched our buddy Rob Maltari of Lone Wolf Comics. Great series. Go pick up Night Wolf.
Yeah.
Another guy, Ed Davis, who runs Finish Line Comics. He's got Immortal Era, another good indie book to go check out. And I've been watching those guys do their Kickstarters, kind of seeing how they do it. You know, I backed 9 of them through my main account and 1 by like a cutthroat account that I started by accident. So I've backed 10 to see how it all plays out. And I felt it was time to jump in the pond and see how it goes. So we were fully funded in less than 48 hours. It was like 47 hours. It took a big push in the final few hours. But we got it, and I was pretty happy about that. We are currently, last I checked, $26 away from our first stretch goal, which will be me signing all the books. So $26 more on the Kickstarter. If you're listening and you back the Kickstarter, tell a friend, because you want that signature. That makes your books worth like 25 cents more, maybe 30. So
you know what? I will do. Here's what I will do for those of you guys who are out there. Whoever gets him over the $26, over that stretch goal tonight, I will send you a digital copy of Essence House. So you'll get a digital copy of my novel. If you put him over that $26 stretch goal, I'll make that happen. I'm going to throw that out to you guys. So I would, by the end of this hour, I would love to see that go over. It's 26 bucks. 26 we can do that, guys.
I can't remember what price all my tiers at, but we have 4 covers, and I think all 4 covers is like 25 or 30 bucks or something like that. So yeah, I would do it. It's a good one. And I mean, you're getting all the sweet swag that you would give at that tier, and a novel. Like, what the fuck, guys? So let's make that happen. Thomas Bishop's excited. It could be you, my friend. Could be you.
Yeah, right. Funded in 48 hours is huge. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, actually, you know, I wasn't really aware that was. I guess that's important. Brian Silverback's did one of our cover, and I was talking to him. He was like, "Dude, you need to push for that." And I was like, "Oh shit, all right." I was thinking of a marathon, not a sprint with marathon at the end. So
it's true. It is a marathon, but the thing is that with Kickstarter, you basically have 3 sections. So you have your first, like, say, 72 hours, and that's when you really want to blow up and get it started. And usually that's about the first third or so of your funding. Then over the next, like, say, 3 weeks or so, that's where you'll get your next third. And then over the last 72 hours or so, you'll usually get your final third. It's not always like that, but the beginning and the end are really where you get your big chunks.
That's right. Yeah, I've had a few people tell me at least that much. So
yeah.
And I'm doing this week. I did Josh's podcast last night. I'm doing yours tonight. I have 3 more this week. 2 on Friday. So it's like I'm putting in the work, man. That's why I tell people, people in all these groups, they're like, what do I got to do this? It's like, fucking get to work, bro. Like, it doesn't happen overnight. It's not magic. I mean, the chances of getting lucky and some Warner Brothers big shot picking up your comic off of Kickstarter or some random, he just happens to be at a con with his daughter and is like, oh, what's Pedal Man? That doesn't happen often. That'd be cool. I'll sell that fucker tonight if somebody wants to buy it for a movie. But you got to get out and work. So
you're putting in all that work, and Thomas asked the question. This is a Kickstarter, so let's do that work now. Pitch us on the Kickstarter, man.
All right, yeah. So I own Cutthroat Comics. We've been going since 2015. We've put out 10 books that I've written, 10 comics that I've written. We've published one by another guy, so we're getting there to being like a full-fledged, awesome publishing company. We are doing our first Kickstarter to take that next step, and the Kickstarter is Turkey Sharks #1. This features all of our characters from my personal 10 books in their first team up Avengers style in-game badass action-packed comedy with heart and a squirrel. So it's front to back. It's funny. It's got some drama. It's definitely got some twists and turns. And most importantly, it was fun to write this because I wrote it in a way that you don't need the other 9 books to read and enjoy this book. Now, there is a tier where you can get those other 9 books for an extremely discounted price, and that would be awesome of you, wink. But Turkey Sharks #1 is kind of our phase 2. Now we're going to start with Turkey Sharks #1, go and start that series. The other series are done. So this is a good jumping on point. If you've never heard of Cutthroat Comics or myself, this is a great time to get on board because I'm guaranteed, don't count me out. It's going to happen.
You had me at wink. All right, cool, man. So you put out all these books. You've done all sorts of different styles of books. You've even done, as you said, like novels, prose, that kind of stuff. Now you're doing Kickstarter. So you're trying to pave these new ways and try these new things. Are you looking ahead and going, what's the next new thing that I do? What's the next wall that I break down?
I mean, yeah, there's a specific plan in place, and being able to run a successful Kickstarter is the beginning of that next step. I have several IPs that I want to approach, but I have to be able to prove that I can move books before they're even going to listen to me, right? I mean, they're not going to take a phone call from Josh Nealis, who's written 10 books and, never made $30,000 on one of them.
Yeah.
So this is that next step before I jump into that. I also have like 4 or 5 other projects that I'm trying to get started as far as just me finding the time to write. My next novel, which I also may do a comic about it as well. I'm thinking about doing a novel and a comic of this idea. Cocaine Stripper Stronghold. I'm very excited about that one. Basically, a bunch of cocaine-fueled strippers are trapped in their brothel by zombie businessmen and biker gangs. So
I mean, that just writes itself.
It honestly, it does. I'm pretty sure I could sit down and just go. Won't have to think about it.
See, look at that. That catches my attention. Yeah, right away, man.
And you know what? That came from a dream. Like a handful of weeks ago, I woke up from a dream, and some dude in the dream was yelling at me, "Cocaine Stripper Stronghold!" And I woke up, and I still heard him like yelling as I came out of the dream, and I was like, grabbed my phone, put that in my notes, and woke up a couple hours later. I was like, "Yup, that's fucking gold right there."
It would have been better if you didn't remember it right away.
Mm.
So you like wake up again all like fucking groggy, and you're like, what the fuck was I talking about?
Yeah, that's happened a few times where I'll pick up my phone and look at my notes, and I'm like, I don't even remember putting that in there, but that seems pretty cool.
I've had the opposite as well.
Mm.
I remember waking up, threw open my laptop, typed away a note real quick, passed out, woke up later on, and next time I'm going through my stuff, I see a note on my desktop. I'm like, oh, cool. oh, great comic idea. All right. And I look at it and I was like, that's a fucking terrible idea. What the fuck are you talking about? It's not even a coherent thought.
Yeah, that happens sometimes. Sometimes you're like, no, delete.
It probably was a good idea. I just wrote it down really badly.
Yep, spelled it bad. Yep.
All right. Well, cool, man. Is there anything else that you want to pitch or talk about? Any other shop stuff that you want to bring up, or?
Oh, gee, yeah. I don't know. We got 15 more minutes. We can talk about whatever. We can talk about Penguins or the Flash or whatever you want to talk about.
I don't know a lot about the Penguins, but
a penguin in general.
Oh, like a specific penguin, maybe?
Yeah, Frank at the local zoo. Frank the penguin.
Oh, dude. Now you're making me want to go to the zoo.
Yeah. I probably need to get to the zoo pretty soon.
Right.
I gotta take my kid. I haven't taken him this year.
It's funny. I've been picked up to help a couple guys with their pitches. They're pitching comic publishers and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
And I loved watching their pitches. But I was like, I haven't had to pitch anybody else, really. You know what I mean? Like, I pitch my books, but just, creating these story pitches that I don't do anything with, I haven't done that. So I started having a fun time where Wendy and I were driving home from Florida, and I was like, give me two genres, and I'll make a pitch right there and then. She was like, okay, fine. And she's like, this and this. And so I grabbed my camera and I start recording myself. I'm like, all right, pitch, blah, blah, blah. And I just started creating these really weird pitches. And I think it's not even necessarily about the ideas. It's just about kind of getting your brain more flexible. And because, I mean, for you've got so many different books and so many different IPs and whatnot. For me, I have one, and I only have a couple.
Right.
And so I tend to become a little more comfortable in those few IPs that I have and just want to play in those sandboxes. But I think it's important to play in a lot.
Well, yeah, and I've actually had a couple people tell me that I'm one of the best salesmen they've ever heard, because people tabling next to me and stuff, which I appreciate, because I worked as a salesman back in the day, like at these TV places. So I'm trained on kind of how to do that. And anybody that's listening, I can tell you right now, if you have multiple things on your table, comics or books or anything like that, you want to get the person that walks up to your table into what they like. Don't try to sell them this book because it's your new thing. They might not like that book. What you want to do, and I tell you right now, on my table, if you've ever seen the pictures of my booth, books are over here, comics are over here. Somebody walks up, hey, how you doing? Where are you from? Oh, cool. I'm Cutthroat Comics out of Findlay, Ohio. Yeah, that's cool. We're local. Yeah. Are you into comics or books or both? Oh, you're into books. Well, let me show you these books. What kind of genre do you like? Oh, you like horror? I got horror in this and this. Oh, you like dark comedy? Oh, you like something sci-fi? Same thing with the books. Same thing. Oh, you like something serious? How old's your kid? 12. Oh, they can read any of this. Oh, they're 9. Let's stick with Ginger Avenger. It's you get them, narrow it down.
Yeah.
What they want.
Well, the other thing that I like to tell people and remind them a lot too is they're already telling you the kinds of things they like, because they're advertising it on their body. They're wearing T-shirts and they're holding the stuff that they've already bought, the merchandise and whatnot. You can take a quick scan and go, cool, which one of my books aims at that person the best, and then you can just be like, hey man, I see this stuff, maybe you would like this or that or whatever.
I like to tell people, because I usually have a buddy go with me just in case I have to go to the bathroom or whatever. And I did Gem City in Dayton, Ohio a couple weeks ago, and my buddy had never been to any con before, and I was kind of telling him, I was like, I'm not the carny caller where I'm like yelling at people across the aisle to come look at the table, but I'm also not the guy that sits back and lets somebody stop. You got to be in between. And I tell you what,
that's it.
The best victory at that show for me this dude walked by, and he kind of glanced at my table real quick. He probably wasn't going to stop, and he had on a shirt. It was a button up, and I believe it was just a bunch of Pikachus, you know. And I couldn't quite make it out because he was, I don't know, 7 or 8 feet back. And I was like, "Hey man, what's on your shirt?" And he stepped forward. He's like, "Oh, it's Pikachu." And we had a conversation about Pokemon. And then I had noticed he was looking at my books. I was like, "Oh, you want to check this out?" And sold him fucking 3 books, bam, like that. Yes. Just by, "Hey man, what's on your shirt?" People want to connect. You find a reason to connect. You sell them yourself, you know. And I'm not saying this as tricks. I mean, this is just kind of how you do it, you know. And if they don't like me, they're not going to buy the book. If they're like, "This asshole, you know, doesn't like Pokemon as much as I do," you know. But I think, did I say this to you before we started? People buy you before they buy your product. So, you know, you got to be a cool dude, man. You got to know how to talk. Get out.
Well, and that's what. Yeah, we were talking about the show because you were like, we were both saying, I don't want to sit and peddle a book for an hour.
Right.
Yeah. So yeah, no, I 100%. And it's so funny. You and I, when it comes to selling too, it's the same thing. Like you have to, there's kind of like, there's this line of you're both subtle and you're very overt and out there. And you kind of have to find that middle ground of being able to bring them into a natural conversation and still slowly steer them towards exactly what's going to be perfect for them.
Well, and two, you have to think about it this way too. You're not building a fan base, you're building a friend base. Especially when you do these cons, you're going to start seeing some of the same people. And I've seen the same people a bunch of times, you know, and I get return customers. And I try my best to remember people's names. And I can tell you right now, I did a con up in Toledo a handful of years ago. This dude from one of my college classes walked by, and I was like, "Jeff." And he turned and saw me, and that was his name. I got it right. And he came over, and I talked to him, and he bought a couple books. You know, it's you know, you have to care about the people that you're selling to. They're not just a dollar sign either. You have to try your best to connect with them as well, not just make them connect with you. I always ask people where they're from, because maybe I've been there, or maybe I've stopped at a restaurant there, or have family there. You know, it makes for a cool story, especially if one of my books pops off and they're like, "Oh, I met Josh at Gym City. He liked my Pikachu shirt." You know, it's a story. Everybody wants a story.
Thomas Bishop has some really, he says that's all very true. So thank you. We try. You worked in TV?
No.
No, you said something about TV though. So yeah.
I don't remember what I said.
Okay, that's fine.
So I'll work in TV. Fuck it. Let's see what happens.
I don't do it. Yeah. And do you know anyone that has a penguin as a pet? That's the question of the night.
I can't name out anybody offhand. I'm sure people do that. Yeah.
I'd like to meet someone who has a penguin as a pet. Let's go there.
Yeah, I have a goal of owning a zebra one day. I very much, and I want to name it Ed Hockley. He was an NFL referee, but I've had that goal. And zebras only like $6,000, but you have to put up 6-foot fences because I guess they can jump over normal fences. So, but that's a goal of mine. One day I'll have a zebra, just one. That's all.
That's pretty great.
Yeah.
What's up, Phil? Good to see you, buddy. Thanks for hopping in on the show.
I like his picture thingy. It's cool.
Yeah, right. He's a cool dude, man. He's great. He and I actually worked books together for Dustin Burnell, I believe. I never remember. I've worked on so many books, so it's so often where I'm like, oh shit. I've even found out afterwards. I was hanging out with someone. I actually saw a guy at oh shit, Drawn Talk. What's going on there, homie? Tyler, good to see you, dude. Cool. Well, I mean, we've only got a couple minutes left, but please hang out. We're so glad to have you here, man. Right? Yeah. Well, and we have a good Kickstarter that you should check out at some point.
Is that Tyler Carpenter? Is that who that was?
Yeah, it is Tyler Carpenter. Yeah. Solid dude. It's gonna. Yeah. That's right. Greed. Exactly. Yeah.
Already a good title. It's a good title already.
Right?
Yeah.
It's funny because I was at Comic Palooza recently and I saw a guy and I was like, I fucking know that dude. I fucking know that dude. And then like the name popped into my head and I was like, wait, so hop on Facebook, look up the name, and I'm like, oh yeah, we did something together. What the hell did we do together? So I had to like kind of flip through some of my books and I was like, oh yeah, okay, cool. So I walked up and I introduced myself and I'm like, hey, we worked on Sasquatch together. And he's like, oh shit. And so that was like a really fun way to kind of like meet new people and stuff. But that's just funny, the people you meet, especially at shows.
Yeah.
I try to, networking is the one spot, believe it or not, where I would say I'm the weakest at a show.
Yeah, I think we talked about this. We touched on it a couple weeks ago, I think, on one of your posts.
Yeah.
It's, and I think I said this to somebody today on in one of the groups I commented. They were asking about how to get published or something. I forget what they said, but at shows, it's imperative to try to network as best you can. And unfortunately, it's kind of a catch-22 where if you're off networking, nobody's at your table. So that's why you go early. I like to go early. A, because I collect toys and comics and I want to find all the good shit before everybody else gets there. And B, I want to try my best to walk around and look at the artists and other publishers and writers and try to talk to them and pick their brain about this or that and hear where they're from and all that. Networking is, shit. You and I are talking because of a fucking Facebook group, probably. I don't even remember how we.
I have no idea.
Yeah, don't remember.
So, but yeah, you're absolutely right.
It's the indie comics group. There are some clubs around, and I don't think I'm in any specific club. I try to be cool with everybody as best I can and talk to this group and that group. And, there's a bunch of artists from Columbus, Ohio that they all seem to hang out and know each other and stuff. And I try to talk to them. And I know you got your kind of crew kind of going on a little bit. So
off and on, yeah, man. Well, and I've even tried to, I certainly had my crew, and now it's I try to kind of spread out a little bit more and hang out with as many people as possible and just kind of get out there, because you don't want your career to be an echo chamber. Right. You know what I mean? You got to be able to get out there and meet other people and do other things, and that doesn't mean that you go, oh well, fuck you guys. It just goes, I've got lots of time. I don't have to spend it all just in this one place.
That Sasquatch book that you Sasquatch. I know I've seen it in some of the groups. It's definitely pretty cool looking. I need to check that one out for sure.
Honestly, that would be a book that you would enjoy a lot. It's hilarious. It's It's one of the funnest books out there. It really is a good one, and I think he's working on and going to be kickstarting issue 6 next.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, and it's a six book arc. This first arc, so it'd be worth hopping on there at that point. But yeah, oh my gosh, that's definitely a book that I think you would enjoy an awful lot. So much fun.
Keep an eye out for that one.
Yeah.
When it comes back out.
But we only have so much time left. As we start to wind down, why don't you tell us about yourself, about Turkey Sharks? Give us that one last pitch so that we can get you over that $26 hump and move you on to the next stretch goals.
Yeah, that'd be great. So I like to punch my child when nobody's looking, and if anybody donates $26, I might not punch him tomorrow. So that's kidding.
The way to do it.
I never hit him. Yeah, I don't even spank the kid. He's a doll. He's a good kid. No, yeah, Turkey Sharks #1, man. If you like superhero stuff, if you like offbeat, if you like developed characters, because I really found their voice on this one. It's a really cool thing. I think it's the best comic I've written so far, as far as the characters are developed. They're speaking in their own voices, and it's got some really interesting twists and turns that you probably will not see coming. It's got a super squirrel that talks. I mean, you can't go wrong with that. So yeah, take a look at Turkey Sharks #1 on Kickstarter and back it. And it's very affordable too. I think you can get the A covers like $5 plus shipping. We've got 4 covers. The Breakfast Club spoof cover is a Kickstarter exclusive. So if you like that movie, you're going to want the cover to go along with the movie. Chris Madd did a cover of Basic Bitch and Zebo the Drunk Homeless Robot. In their first appearance, they're on the cover. and Brian Silverbacks, who's worked for Image and Scout and Aftershock, Source Point. He did a Stingray and Snapdragon cover that's pretty spooky and awesome. I don't know if it's spooky, but it's kind of, I don't know what the best word for it is, but it's an interesting cover. It's really cool. It's like one of those side-by-side things.
Do you have a special link for Turkey Sharks, or just go to Kickstarter and go to Turkey Sharks?
Yeah, I mean, I could probably drop it in the comments.
Okay.
Somewhere. If I type it in the comments over here, does it pop up, or do I have to go to the actual thing on Facebook?
There is a post comment. As long as you don't put it in private chat, you're fine.
Okay, I'll throw it in there and see if it works. Oh, okay, yeah, I see it. Or maybe I can't comment on this. No, I can just read the old ones. I don't think I can.
Okay. Well, if you go to Kickstarter and you look up Turkey Sharks, you'll find it right away. It was the first thing I found.
Yeah, you can.
Yeah.
It's on our website, cutthroatcomics.com. It's right there on the homepage. It's on it's on all the social medias. I've been blasting the shit out of it, so it's easy to find. You guys are smart. People know how to do that stuff.
Well, and if you do get him over the $26 mark, remember what I said. Come back to me and let me know that you were the one who did that. I'll work it out with Josh, and I'll send you that book.
Yep, I'll give you the name as soon as I see it.
Perfect. Yeah, man. So yeah, cool, dude. Thank you so much for coming out, man.
No, thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.
I was really glad to do it. You're a lot of fun. I think we really got to dig into a bunch of into a bunch of concepts and whatnot. We even got to talk about penguins. How fucking often does that happen?
Like twice a day.
Oh, you're a big penguin guy.
Talk about penguins.
All right, sweet. So guys, thank you so much. I really appreciate all of you guys coming out. Shit, you know what? I'm gonna look real quick. I'm gonna find out who I have. It's gonna freeze up, or it'll look like I'm freezing up, but I'm still here. I'm gonna look and see who we have next week. Who do we got? Okay, cool. So next week we have Katrina Rotes, who's going to be showing up, another editor. We're going to talk to her. And hey, if you guys are in the area in Central Texas, come on out to Hill Country Comic Con in New Braunfels, Texas. I'm going to be there. I've got myself a nice booth in the vendor area, and I'm going to be selling a bunch of comics. And hey, even if you already have my stuff, you've already checked it out, pop by the booth, and let me know that you came by and stuff. And I'll gladly have some free merchandise and gifts for you from Kickstarters and whatnot. So pop on in, say hi, and we'll leave you. We'll make sure that you leave with something, whether you've got it all or not, because I'm sure there's stickers and shit that you don't have. So cool, Josh. Thank you so much, man. I appreciate you. Had a good time. Let's hope you fucking crush all the goals.
I hope so. That'd be nice. That way I can move forward with some of my other plans. Good.
All right, gang. I'm out of here. My name's Chuck. I give a fuck. Stay safe, everybody.